What's going on, guys? I'm just kidding, I'm not Peter McKinnon. But I am going to give you guys some good knowledge today. So my name is Jason Torres. I'm a photographer in Southern California, and I've been photographing for about 5 years. So I would say that I have a decent knowledge about what's going on, and I'd like to be able to share that with you guys today. So today our topic is going to be about lenses, how to read them, how to get the most out of your buck, and here we go. All right, so our first topic is going to be like how you're going to go over your lens and how you're going to look at it and decide whether you want to buy that lens or not. I know when I first started in photography, it was really difficult for me. I didn't understand what all the numbers were. I didn't understand what range I needed for what type of photography. So we're going to go over a couple of those today. It's a really large subject, so I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but hopefully I am able to help you guys and help you choose your next lens depending on what kind of photography you do. Okay, so my main thing is I do portrait photography. So for me, well, honestly, I've done a lot of different types of photography. That's just kind of how it is when you first get into it. You're trying to find your niche and stuff, but mainly portrait photography for me. If you go and look at my Instagram, jason.torres.photography, you'll see nothing but portraits. I've been trying to keep it that way and make sure that anyone who is viewing my page knows that I do portraits. Okay, so back to our main topic here. What do the millimeters essentially mean, right? So you're looking at your lens, you're like, oh, I want this lens, I think I want this lens, I don't know. What does millimeters mean? So this one that I have on, this Canon Rebel T6 right here, is a 50 millimeter lens. It is a great lens. It's a great budget lens. It was only, I think I spent 125 bucks on Amazon for this lens. Super cheap as far as lenses go, but really great quality and a great beginner lens. It has a very wide aperture at 1.8, meaning it's a very fast lens. When they say fast, they just mean wide. And you can tell that by the front of your lens on this one. It says Canon EF lens 50 millimeter 1.8 STM. STM is the silent motor that they put in. It's a silent motor that they put in. It's whenever it's focusing, it's not super loud. And this also comes with a button on the side that says autofocus or manual focus. This does not have stabilization. That is I'd say the biggest downfall of this particular lens. But if you're shooting portraits and you're using a tripod, as long as your shutter speed is fast enough, you shouldn't have any issues. Okay, so what does 1.8 mean? 1.8 is literally your aperture. So it's how wide or how narrow your aperture is. Your aperture is your f-stop. They're the same thing. If you turn on the camera and you look at the back side, you'll see this little 1.8 right here. So 1.8. So that means that this lens currently is as wide as it will possibly go. And that will let in as much light as it can possibly let in. If you go to the opposite end of that is f22. Now that means that the hole is as small as it can go, and it will let in the least amount of light that it possibly can. There are two, well, there's not two, but the two that are most common for photographers in general are a fixed zoom or fixed millimeter lens, like this one was 50 millimeters. You don't have any, it's just one range, that's it. Or a variable zoom lens like this one, which is a 24 to 105. So it goes from 24 millimeters all the way to 105, and it has, this one actually has stabilization in it. But, so you need to do some research on each lens themselves. Both of these are actually decent, or like this one is a great for portraits, that one's decent for portraits, but it can also be used for landscapes and as well like sports and just all kinds of stuff because it has such a wide range of zoom. Now, for I would say for the beginner photographer, especially on like a Rebel T6, something like that, this is the only lens that you need. You can shoot so many different things with just a 50mm lens. If you think that you need another lens, just really look at your subject and what you're shooting and ask yourself, is it necessary, or can I just take a couple steps back and get the same framing that I would normally? Now, it's really important to make sure that if you are stepping up in your photography game, like I said, I have a Rebel T6. I'm currently shooting on an EOS R. I know it's going to be totally backwards of what I'm about to tell you, but you don't need the best body. The lens is where the quality is. So if you're looking to buy another, or like up your quality in photography, buy new glass. I'm telling you, that is the easiest way to improve your quality of your photography. And if you have like any idea of what you're doing with that, then you won't have any problems. You'll be able to really bump your game up. All right, so I'm looking at this lens and I'm sitting here wondering, what is the red ring, right? What does that mean? That means that this particular lens is a much higher quality than the previous one that I just showed you. So this lens is the L series lens, is a professional series lens, and you'll get a lot nicer like bokeh in the background. That's the blurry part that they call it. It's called bokeh, and or bokeh. I don't know. You know, everybody pronounces it differently. But that's what that red ring means. Now, you don't have to have the red ring to shoot professional photos. Learn your camera, learn your settings, learn what they do, learn about photography in general, and you'll be able to take great photos with that 50mm lens that we just talked about. Now, does every lens fit every camera? No. This particular camera, the Rebel T6, it will fit both EF lenses and EFS lenses. EFS is a crop mount, meaning that your sensor in your camera is a crop sensor. This camera is a crop sensor. The camera that I'm shooting on right now is a full sensor. Whenever you get further into photography, learn more about what that means and how that affects your photo. Then you can decide whether you really need that or whether you need a full sensor or a crop sensor. Most people start out with a crop sensor, and that's totally fine. You can accomplish anything that you want to on a crop sensor for the most part. It's just a little bit of difference in quality of the photo and a little bit of difference in how much light you can receive on your sensor. Let's see here. So the mounts themselves, they have 3 different types of mounts, and I think they ended up making the third type for the RF mounts, and I think it's a red dash for the RF mounts. But for the EF mount, it's a red dot, and for the EFS, it is a white square. And that's Canon specific, I think. I only shoot Canon, so if you have a different type of camera, it's going to be a little bit different. However, everything that I'm telling you about lenses should be relatively the same. I don't think that they're marked too much differently. And find out what type of mount you have. And then whenever you're buying your lenses, make sure you double check what type of mount that lens is. If it is an EF, it will go to EF. If it is EFS, it'll go to EFS. The whole goal with this video was just to bring you guys some quality knowledge about photography and lenses. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe. If you learned something, please share it with your friends. If you have other photographer friends, share it with them. You know, as people who are interested in becoming photographers, share it with them. I want everyone to be able to get this knowledge for free and not have to attend courses for the same thing that I struggled through. So if you have any other questions, please comment in the comments below. And thank you very much for watching. We'll talk to you later.